What's up, Atlanta? This is the Mouths of the South radio show on Atlanta Sports X, 1230 AM, 106.3 FM, always streaming online on the Atlanta Sports X app. We are here in the Battery, Atlanta, 680 Studios, the Dickey Broadcasting Studios. And right across the street from us, the Atlanta Braves are about to start their 9 innings, and they're gonna have a little ceremony beforehand, celebrating Atlanta United. It's Atlanta United celebration night. They'll be honoring Atlanta United's MLS championship with a special pregame ceremony featuring members of the 2018 team and the coveted MLS Cup. I'm actually, after this, I'm going next door. I'm going to have my hat. Good to go. Good to go. It's a fantastic week for Atlanta United fans in the sense that we've got I'm Eric Quintana, by the way. Sam and Josh out today, flying solo for you on a Wednesday night, and it's a different week in the sense that we've finally got an MLS win. We finally got progress to talk about. I feel like everyone's off of Frank de Boer's back, at least for this week. You saw an attacking style that you haven't really seen much of in the last 4 weeks, or whatever, last four matches. And you got a better idea of what this team can look like, what Atlanta United can look like, based off their match against their 2-0 win over the Revolution. You've got a better idea of what this team can look like if they focus more on the attacking side of things. I think we all forget that one of the quotes that came out, and I forget who said it, but came out of, I want to say, preseason camp, and it was either Guzan or Michael Parker, one of the two. One of the things they said was Tata Martino focused so heavily on the attacking side of things. He didn't, at least to start, pay much attention to the defensive side of things. Not to say you just completely avoided it, but he was more focused on creating chances, on getting forward, on verticalidad and getting up the field. Apparently, that's not how it typically works with the new coach. Apparently, much like we saw under Frank de Boer, at least early on, the focus was very defensive. He was more focused on making sure everyone was in the right spot defensively, everyone was marking the right man and organized defensively rather than moving forward or going into the attack. And that's where I think a lot of us were kind of weirded out or felt misled by the drastic changes under Frank de Boer in the first 4 matches of the season. But in this match, obviously, New England Revolution tried to play. They tried to press. They tried to force issues in the back, try to force turnovers in the midfield. And that kind of played into Atlanta United's hands to the point where they looked outstanding. Joseph Martinez, even though he didn't score, looked fantastic. And he looked like he was there. He was finally happy to be playing in 2019. Tito Villalba, who I don't think I rewatched the match, and I didn't get a chance to do it Monday for the podcast, but I rewatched the match, and I didn't give him enough credit on the podcast. He was fantastic. Barco, when he came in, obviously he did the great things that he did in scoring both goals for Atlanta United. Amazingly, he does that coming off the bench very early in the match. And I thought it was hilarious. Immediately, you started, as soon as the first goal goes in, you started hearing the rumblings about how is this guy starting on the bench. The second goal goes in, same sort of, that got even louder. How is this guy not in the starting 11? Player of the week, yeah. Nominated and won. And for all we know, he might not have played, had Remedi been healthy for the first 60, 70 minutes, Barco might not have played more than 20 minutes. And that's probably a conservative number. We saw Pity play a few minutes. He's not, according to Frank de Boer, he wasn't 100%. He coming back from Argentina. I think he got married recently, so he had a lot going on in the last 2 weeks. I think the last 2 weeks were, I hope that they got the rest they needed. It looks like they got, and I know it was against a bad team in New England, but it looks like they got enough out of the 2 weeks to look like they had a better understanding of what Frank de Boer wanted to do, specifically against a team like New England, specifically against a team that was going to come out and play. I hope so. I mean, we mentioned on the podcast, we mentioned on the radio show last week, but the block of 3 games that included New England, that includes FC Dallas, that includes the Colorado Rapids, that's a big test for Frank DeBoer. I think it's a big test for this team. I think it's a big test in the sense that you're looking to see what Frank DeBoer has in his first 2 months or so here has taken away from his team, how he can adjust what he wants to do to what he has in terms of players, in terms of personnel, and then how teams adjust to him and what he's doing with Atlanta United so far. So New England, that win, that checks off one box. You got 2 more. And I'm not saying you absolutely need to win. It absolutely helps that you got 3 points away from New England. It's a great start. My hope was to have I'm hoping for 5 points at the very minimum. That's a win and 2 draws. You don't want to lose any of these games. FC Dallas is going to be a kind of a bigger test because they're a younger team. I don't have the sense that they're going to just sit back and let you possess the ball. Now, there are some coaches that might look at Atlanta United and think, okay, the smarter move would be to just sit back and counter. But there are teams that have the talent that can go one-on-one with Atlanta United as a whole. You know, the Red Bulls are going to be a massive test for Atlanta United in that sense. The Red Bulls are a team that press all up and down the field, and you wonder how what you saw against New England would translate from Atlanta United would translate to a better team, a team that does what New England wanted to do a much better way, like in the New York Red Bulls. But it's great to have a win. It's great to finally get that monkey off the back. I think a lot of people were starting to get really nervous. I think the 2 weeks, I took a break. I took a break from social media because I couldn't take it anymore. I was just like, I'm tired of nothing but just the negativity. I had to get away from it for a little bit. Yeah. I wanted to get away from it. We're also streaming on YouTube on the Mouths of the South MLTS podcast YouTube channel. So if you want to get a look at my pretty face. How pretty is it, Chris? So if you want to interact with the show, you got a couple of ways of doing it. You can do it on the stream. You can do it by calling us 404-741-1230. You can interact with me specifically on Twitter at Eric G. Quintana, the podcast at MOTS Podcast. And I'm happy that the Braves are celebrating Atlanta United tonight. I do too. You see this across other sports, right? So if the Braves would have won the World Series, the Falcons would have had them in and said what's up and celebrated and congratulated and had like an official ceremony and everything, right? Yeah. I'm glad that the other sports teams I don't think the Georgia Swarm have gotten this kind of love, especially when they won their championship. I think it was last year. No, sure, yeah. The Georgia Swarm. No, for sure. Yeah, I'm very happy. It's you feel accepted as an Atlanta United fan, as someone who loves watching the team. You feel like there's an acceptance among the sports community here in Atlanta that Atlanta United is one of the big ones. And I mean the numbers in terms of attendance and the fact that they won the championship last year. Yep. I mean, look, everyone thought after year one that those numbers might go down, but from what I understand, the season ticket holders that's increasing, which I think they want to cap at some point so that they can have those single game, tickets at the gate type of sales. But it's impressive how consistent Atlanta has been in supporting this team. It's impressive. Have you ever been to the Gulch? To one of the tailgates? It's a party. They start super early. Super early. If it's a 7 o'clock game, you're talking about getting there at noon. You're talking about boot and rally around 5 o'clock. I don't know. Oh no here yeah. So there are some bars that have decided they're it's very specific places, but I used to work at a restaurant that did that in Duluth. That it was just a couple people that would come in, but it was something that they could just say they did, and they did it. I know that I want to say Hudson FC probably does that. I don't know 100% for sure. I'm trying to think of a couple other ones. I know there are other ones that I'm forgetting the names of. But yeah, you show up at 6 a.m. and they're there, maybe not 6 a.m., but like 7 o'clock before the first match, first EPL match, and they're there willing to serve you drinks. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm very excited about what's going on today with the Braves and Atlanta United. It's nothing new to what I'm trying to think who's done this as well. I think the Hawks did this earlier this season, which is awesome. It is. I gotta think that even if Atlanta United wasn't as popular as they were, and I don't think they need someone like Arthur Blank to kind of be like, hey, how about you throw something special for us? Hashtag awareness, all that stuff. I think that the team by themselves are doing that, but I think it also doesn't hurt that Arthur Blank is behind all this as well. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. You'd expect exactly. If the Falcons had won the Super Bowl that year, I'm sure Atlanta United would have done something for the Falcons the following year. Same with the World Series. Same with, yeah, especially there. Jenna Singleton on the YouTube stream talking about how that the tailgate on Saturday for I believe a 7 o'clock match, no 4 o'clock match starting at noon. Eat some food. I've also been followed officially by @FrankDeBoring. His name is Frank DeBoer, Franciscus DeBoer, Frank DeBoer, and they've tagged him Frank DeBoring. No, this is clearly a fake account. I just wanted to bring that up. I just thought it was funny. Frank DeBoring. I don't know how you can find what you saw last week boring. It was truly amazing. You heard the different complaints about how Atlanta United got this win. You heard that New England's not a great team, that you're supposed to beat a team like this anyway, that Joseph Martinez didn't score, so that means that it's not legit somehow. I'm sitting there, I'm like, you got to win. You did it in a way that was exciting because the number of because it ended 2-0, but it could have easily ended 6-0. You saw Joseph Martinez miss sitters. You saw Villalba with a couple of shots that he missed. I mean, this easily could have gotten out of control pretty early on. I'm not. Well, I'll turn it on. We'll go to break. I'll turn the Braves game on. Watch the celebration. When we come back, we'll dive more into the specifics about Atlanta United's 2-0 win over the New England Revolution. We'll do that next on Atlanta Sports X. This is Mountain South Radio Show, 1230 AM, 106.3 FM, always streaming online on the Atlanta Sports X app. What's up, everybody?
Sports X is here, and we're not your daddy sports talk. Kick off the day at 6 a.m. with Golic and Wingo, bringing you the biggest national stories and
Fox Sports South, whatever that is on this cable.
As home team in Hamilton take the wheel. Home team Brandon League and Joe Hamilton are all over the Atlanta team until noon. Then we head over to the cheap seats as the local talk keeps rolling with Tug Cowart and Georgia football superstar Hudson Mason. And the opinion stays strong from 3 p.m. to 6 as our man Mark Sano laces into.
All right, who's on here? We got Jenno, we got Chris, two others who shall remain nameless.
Like we said, this is not your daddy's sports station.
Feel free to interact.
Alternative sports station.
So Chris is my producer on the other side of the glass. He's the board op producer, and he is pushing the buttons, making sure commercials get played. And so because he's behind the glass, obviously you guys aren't going to hear him as well. But that's not because of any technical issue. That's just because he can't be in the room and do what he's doing at the same time. I'm wondering if they're going to show this thing on TV. I don't think they would. Maybe they will. No, I'm going after the game. I got my tickets.
Atlanta Braves baseball.
I want those super fancy carriages.
If you guys have any talking points about the match that you want me to hit on, I'd love to hear them. I know that Josh had, I don't know. I didn't see it. Yeah, so they got time. It might be happening right now, but they're just not showing it. Concussion protocol, yeah. Somebody find out who's behind this Frank DeBoring account. Someone listens to the podcast because oh, nice. Did you see they had some kind of march? That's pretty cool. Michael Parkhurst next to Freddie Freeman. The fake account is Frank DeBoring at F DeBoring, DE Boring. And under it says ATL United coach. 17 followers, 10 tweets. I do think it's funny that someone would go through the trouble of doing that. I didn't get a chance to see VAR when it came to the Man City match. But apparently it was a big deal, wasn't it? I was in the middle of work. I'm not as lucky as some of you guys that get to watch soccer during the day. So yeah, this is how it is. A little behind the scenes on the radio show. Normally we'd have Sam or Josh here. Josh is coaching, and Sam had some kind of vocal issue. It looks like he lost his voice, so he obviously would have been a no-go for today. Thank you, A-Ray. Last week was rough. I'm not going to lie. It happens. Hey, man, they're getting their play on the air. That's all that matters, right? It's better. Hey, it's better than having back-to-back like John Kincaid spots or something like that. I have done that before a couple times. 20 seconds, people. Miles of South Radio Show on Atlanta Sports X, 1230 AM, 106.3 FM, always streaming on the Atlanta Sports X app inside the Battery Atlanta, where pictures are coming out regarding the Braves Atlanta United celebration, MLS Championship celebration. You got pictures of Freddie Freeman and Michael Parkhurst holding up each other's respective jerseys. Apparently there was a bit of a march that happened. Atlanta United tweeting out these photos. Looks fun. Looks a little empty in that stadium there, though. It is a Wednesday. Diamondbacks, right? I got my tickets. Nah, I'm not that lucky. I did ask for tickets, hoping that would be like thrown my way, and that did not happen. No, that's okay. I've become a bit of a ticket. What's the word? Yeah, I don't buy tickets anymore. I don't buy tickets anymore. It's really sad to say, because even the Atlanta United tickets I've gone to where I'm not in the press box, I still don't pay for those. I get them through either the station or a friend or something like that. I've been to so many Braves games, and I'm like, I love the Braves, but I like watching from the comfort of my couch. I'll put it that way. I think I did that with. I might have gotten maybe Music Midtown tickets, and I just went for one day as opposed to both days. That sort of thing. I don't think I've ever done that. Do you feel bad? Then go. There you go. Jeez. Hopefully everyone's got a front row seat to Atlanta United's second win come Saturday against FC Dallas. And you got to wonder given the success you saw in New England, at Gillette Stadium, you wonder what the starting 11 looks like moving forward. Especially given that Barco and Pitti were both on the bench to start that match. Remedi, I got to think that probably going to be a week or two, depending on how bad this concussion was. And he's forgetting moments of the match that he barely played in. It's probably not that great of a sign. And I think that Remedi is an injury, while a big one, it's not something that Atlanta United doesn't know how to cope with. Obviously, you saw how well they did against New England and making that transition. But you do have questions and just wonder, and it's not concern. It's just a matter of putting the right pieces in their given places in regards to the starting 11. If you were able to check out Josh Bagriansky's Talking Tactics piece for this week, he mentioned that essentially Frank DeBoer shifted by the end of the match. Atlanta is playing a 4-4-2, where Tito Villalba was essentially the second striker underneath Joseph, and it looked great. I did not give him credit on the podcast, at least enough credit on the podcast. I thought he did well, but I did not realize until I rewatched the match how much of an influence he had on that midfield and the recovery and opening up Joseph and opening himself up when it came to Joseph receiving the ball with his back to goal. or with his back to defender. I mean, he does everything he can to earn the assist on the first Barco goal, and while a bit lucky on the second goal for Barco and being credited for the assist, he had so many more opportunities and moments in that match that aren't forgotten, but they're almost looked over because, at least by me, because of, I'll call it the luck of Barco scoring on that great. Not that Barco's goal was luck, but the fact that the ball went unimpeded to Barco and Barco was able to curl it past New England's keeper. But Tito, I think in this match kind of proved that he definitely deserves a shot. And he definitely belongs in this team. And I think that was something that maybe Frank de Boer needed to see, specifically in a match. I think that's something that Atlanta United fans, or at least me, needed to see. I won't categorize it. If you don't know Chris, people think that I hate Tito Villalba. They believe, because in year one of Atlanta United, when Joseph Martinez gets hurt for about 3 or 4 months, Tito was the guy they called upon to be the guy that replaced Joseph for the most part. I think there was a 2 or 3 week period where it was Kenwyne Jones, but that didn't work out. And so in those moments, in those matches where he's asked to do great things, the goals he scored, I kept thinking were, look, I'm not saying it's not great that he's scoring these goals, but the way he's scoring these goals isn't something that you can count on consistently. There would be a lucky bounce. There would be a defender that does something incredibly stupid that he would never do otherwise. There was at least one goal where the keeper absolutely missed, just whiffed with his hands. I'm right there with you. After watching that full year, I was like, all right, well, being in the right place at the right time, being a little bit lucky, that's sometimes part of a guy's game. I think last year you saw how that wasn't as consistent as you'd hoped. I think this year he's starting to prove, and I think last year was a different Tito Villalba in the sense that he proved that he could go 1v1 against the defender, and he wasn't just a speed guy. That was a little bit lost early in the season. It's still super early to be incredibly critical about that aspect of him, and you saw a little bit of what he could do in tight spaces, at least in one moment. But his speed is obviously where he's at his best. And I think that being that second striker, allowing him to flow wherever Joseph isn't, that's a key to Atlanta United's attack moving forward. Now, that was with Barco in, that was with Remedi out, and that was with Pity out. How you juggle all these pieces to fit both what you want to do to be successful and to make everyone happy at the same time, that's an issue Frank de Boer has got to look at pretty hard heading in the next two matches. FC Dallas, again, a team that's I want to say is going to want to play with you. It's going to want to not just sit back because they're young, because I want to say they feel like they can take on the world, especially how successful their season has been so far. But you got to look at the starting 11 moving into FC Dallas and wonder what the decisions are. Is Pity 100%? Is he fit to play all night? 70 plus. Remedi, I would assume, is going to be sitting out. Do you play more or less in the similar way that you played, after he suffered his concussion, in terms of dropping Nagbe back into that CDM type of role, moving Barco into the midfield where Nagbe was, and then having the two up top and Tito and Joseph? It worked then. I want to see if it works again against a team that like FC Dallas, a better team. We said it last week. The 3 games that included New England, Colorado, and FC Dallas, it was going to be a big test for Frank de Boer. And it was going to decide whether he needed to take a hard look in the mirror and figure out if he needed to change his tactics, his mentality, his approach to coaching this team, or if whatever he was trying to implement was going to shine and at some point come through. And I think you saw a mix of both. I think you saw a Frank de Boer that realized what he had a chance to really analyze guys like Tito, guys like Barco, guys like Remedi, guys like Nagbe, and see what they could give you at given positions. And that was going to take a little bit of time. And I think New England being in terms of quality of opponent, let's call it a glorified scrimmage, subpar, a team that you could you could take an opportunity to work on some things with. I'm not saying that's how they went into this match. I'm sure they went in knowing they needed to win, but the reality is we knew that player for player, Atlanta United was more talented than New England. So at least from the fans' perspective, it looked like an opportunity for Atlanta United to go about trying Tito as a second striker, moving Barco into the midfield, dropping Nagbe when that situation presented itself. And I think you had an opportunity to see what Frank de Boer does under a scenario where you lose, a key figure in your starting 11 very early on. How do you adjust to that? What's the first decision you make when it comes to a player going down that you got to remove? Concussion protocol's got to change in soccer, I think, in my opinion. Right now, it's essentially, guy, if you think he's got a concussion, he's got to come off, and you're playing down a man. In any other sport, in baseball, you probably can take as much time as you want. That's the only other sport I can think of where the substitutions come at a premium, in the sense that they can't come back in or anything like that. But every other sport, NFL, basketball, trying to think of the others, hockey, you can sub in and out pretty much interchangeably at any point at whatever rate you want to. You can't do that with soccer. And so we saw the incident with Atlanta United and Remedi, and he picks up the head injury very early on. He stays on for a couple more minutes, goes down again. It's clear that he's not 100%. There should be a system for these teams to pull the guy off that suffers a head injury, analyze him without being at a disadvantage for doing that on the field. Now, a lot of people are talking about a temporary sub, and if that sub happens to actually need to be the replacement, then that's the sub that you use, the one of three that you have. But if Remedi is found to be all good, all cleared, then he comes back on, the temporary sub gets removed, and you still have all three subs. That makes perfect sense to me. I don't know how that works with the Players Association, MLS, with pro. I'm not anywhere near that advanced when it comes to the mechanics of the league and how rule changes happen. But you'd think that it's an easy conversation to have. Now, where these teams might take advantage of that rule, because you got to believe that if there's a loophole, someone's going to find it and someone's going to use it. How that plays into all this, I don't know. How what it takes to actually change a rule, especially like around the end of the game. I mean, every match that has a 2-1 difference usually ends with the winning team taking as much time, taking every opportunity to lay on the ground, taking every opportunity for the ref to kind of hold up play, just to waste as much time as possible. That's just part of the game. It's gamesmanship. Yeah, absolutely. But you know that some team is going to take advantage. And you know that's if this has been a consideration for MLS for the players themselves, you got to think that's an aspect of this that they've thought about, that they've considered as maybe a reason not to do this. But player safety is always going to trump everything else. And so,
soccer has a higher of particularly women's soccer of all levels, collegiate, high school, than even does football.
yeah.
I guess if you stop to think about that, you think, all right, well, that sort of makes sense. But you just ask me on the street and stop me and say, which sport do you play football? Or pro? I would have said football. Instinctively. But
Apparently, it's like rugby,
I guess so. So either way, it has
which
to
I
be
mean makes sense. Yeah.
So MLS and soccer in general follow the lead. Just that's the way the culture is going. You're going to have to start paying attention as we know more medically.
The thing that's
So maybe that
I-
does have to get better.
maybe it does, but the reason I don't want it to wait until the end of the season, the reason I don't like that aspect of it is because we're going to forget about this by the time December rolls around. This is going to be we're going to absolutely 100% forget about this instance. We're going to forget about, unless it happens at the very, very end of the season, an MLS Cup or in the playoffs, we're going to forget about the moments that we looked at and thought we really should look at this as a rule change. And I think that's why a lot of the times the rules don't get changed because they happen so early on the season that they're not a talking point come the time that you have these kind of discussions. So I'm not saying change a rule in the middle of the season or change an aspect of the game in the middle of the season, but at least get into a conference room, talk about what can be done, talk about what needs to be done, so that by the time December or the time that these conversations do happen, but by the time that rolls around, you're already ahead of the game. You're already at the point where, all right, well, we just need to dot this I and cross this T, and we're done. Yeah. Right. The pass interference, yeah. You saw, yeah, I mean, yeah. Had that happened in the beginning of the season, everyone would have forgotten about it. But because it cost the Saints a chance at the Super Bowl, now we're all up in arms about it.
So that's the sad reality. Something usually has something of real value has to be attached.
Yeah, we're absolutely going to forget about Remedi and his concussion and how that played out on the field by the time the playoffs December, even sooner than that even. As Atlanta United fans, we'll remember. But we'll forget about the outcry for that specific rule change, and so will MLS for that matter. So will the players, so everyone else will too. Now, again, I'll say it again. If it happens at the end of the season, at an important time of the season or the playoffs or MLS Cup, you can expect that rule to get changed. But until then, I don't expect it to happen. Oh yeah, for sure. Always reactionary. Always. The one thing I did like about Atlanta United's 2-0 win over the New England Revolution, Martinez seems to pick up he wasn't as reliant on his runs as maybe, and became more evident in this match. He wasn't as reliant on his runs as he has been in the past 2 years specifically. You saw him pretty much get the hockey assist he did get the hockey assist on the first goal for Barco, flicking it to Villalba down that left side. And then Villalba finds a way to get cut through the traffic and finds Barco right in front of net. That started because Josef Martinez was essentially playing, with his back to goal and just flicked it over to Villalba. You saw a couple moments, especially I'm thinking the one with Gressel, where he absolutely gives Gressel a perfect pass, cutting through the back line, and Gressel unfortunately can't get enough behind it to put it into the net, but does enough to create the opportunity, create that chance. And Josef Martinez had a couple moments like that where he drops back and finds a way to facilitate. And that's not something we've seen too often. And when we have seen him try to do that, it hasn't looked great. I remember a couple months ago talking about how, man, Josef, when he's not just making runs and going to goal, he looks rough. He's not the same player when he's playing with his back to goal. Now, this match, 100% different. I hope if that's part of his game, awesome. Because I think one thing that people have thought of when it comes to Josef is that he's going to be the same player he was last year. He's not going to score the same number of goals he scored last year. He's, in all likelihood, not going to get even close. He's not going to be the goal-scoring leader. I think Zlatan's going to get that nailed at some point. But what Frank de Boer and his system are going to do is allow for others to get more involved in the scoring. It's going to open up different avenues for different players. And you saw it very much in this match against the New England Revolution. How many opportunities did Tito have to score? Barco with his chances that he nailed. You had Gressel with the pass from Josef. You had the chances from Josef himself. That's 5 players I mentioned, right? 4 or 5? Yeah. That's just the ones I can think of off the top of my head. The system is designed to get more players involved, to create more opportunities for guys like Nagbe when he's playing the CAM, the cam role, for guys like Escobar and Parkhurst. We'll talk about that in a second. Parkhurst at right back was awesome. But that's the kind of thing that I think we've been waiting to see. is, and I can't believe that people are dogging Joseph for not scoring or for essentially playing a different role than we're accustomed to seeing him in. It was strange to, yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand how, look, there's other examples across sports, but LeBron in the playoffs is double teamed all the time. He's double teamed for a reason. It's up to everyone else to kind of pick up the slack. And for whatever reason, LeBron still manages to have amazing nights. Joseph is going to get that same treatment this year. He's going to get the treatment where he's going to get essentially double teamed by the back line. He's going to be accounted for every step of the way. And what you're going to see is other opportunities open up for other players. Saw Barco, saw Tito, saw Gressel. And using Joseph Martinez in a different way is then going to, I'm not going to say confuse back lines or other teams, but it's going to force them to have to adjust in maybe ways that they didn't think they would have to. So don't get me wrong, Joseph's still going to have his opportunities. You saw he had his opportunities this past week. He didn't crush them like he normally does, but he did have the opportunities. It's not like those are going to disappear. But this team is going to create other ways to facilitate, to manufacture goals, to get other players involved in the attack. Michael Parkhurst at right back was awesome. Michael Parkhurst, if you don't know, I think 34, 35. Let me look that up real quick. And 35 years old, yeah. I thought last year was going to be his last season. I thought I was going to ride off into the sunset with a MLS Cup in his hand and say, I've had a great run. I'm out of here. I found what I was looking for. I won what I wanted. I'm gone. It was fun. Deuces. But he's back. And look, there was a lot of questions as to where Michael Parkhurst would fit now that Miles Robinson has been a revelation at center back. And Frank DeBoer found a way to use Michael Parkhurst at right back. Now, it's at a necessity, but it's not like Michael Parkhurst looked bad. He looked good. It was weird seeing him up in the final third, but he looked good. He was involved. He's the reason that I feel like a lot of people forget, but he's the guy that the ball gets played over the top to on Barco's golazo. That ball gets flicked over to Tito. Tito then finds a way to get it through the box. Barco finds it right outside the 18 and curls it in.
Once again, all your focus goes on one player. Other people have opportunities
Yeah.
they wouldn't have otherwise had.
Joseph absolutely drew that attention. It didn't help that New England was absolutely disorganized defensively. They had no idea where anyone was. They weren't really accounting for anything. It looked like what New England would look like defensively, like is what you look like when you watch an adult league 11-on-11 match. Like guys essentially just get together and start playing, like at a park or something like that. Yeah, that's what it looked like because no one had a good sense of what they were supposed to do. It didn't seem that way, at least. No one had a good sense of what they were supposed to do. They were just, it's like they were all thrown out there and said, all right, we're going to press, go. There was no strategy behind how to press. There was no tactical decision-making in terms of when or when not to press or how to press a certain area of the field. It was just, all right, we're going to press, go. That's on Brad Friedel. Yeah. It's like watching a group of guys that don't practice specifics. They just go out there and kick the ball around.
Everybody sort of runs to one direction. You find out 22 times all the same place. Nobody knows.
General Singleton on the YouTube stream talks about how our uninformed fans are always going to find something to complain about. Remember when the big thing was he doesn't get back and he doesn't play defense? I think she's referring to Joseph Martinez. I love that out of Tito. Tito, there were a couple occasions where he dropped back, recovered the ball in midfield, and started not necessarily counter, but got the attack going. Joseph is not necessarily being asked to do much defensively, but he is being asked to drop back a little more than he has been in the past. Normally, you didn't see him doing that at all. Normally, you had someone else doing that. Normally, it was Almirón last year and the year before. Not the case now. And asking him to do that is, again, it's the reason that I think Tito looked as good as he did. It's the reason that Gressel is going to be able to find ways to get different ways to get forward. When you look at the right back, the fullbacks on this team, they're going to get more involved because Joseph Martinez is dropping in. Now, the big question I have is how Pity and Barco fit into this mix here. And if not Pity and Barco, let's assume that, all right, Frank DeBoer has fallen in level with what he saw against the New England Revolution. That means Remedi is off. Or Lorenowitz and then Remedi, and whatever. Lorenowitz is off. Someone's going to have to come off for Pity, Barco, Tito, Joseph, all to be able to play up top. Or all to be able to play in the starting 11 to begin with. That decision is going to be tough. Because within Barco and Pity, you got a lot of money that you want to play. You want to give every opportunity to fail, which you're not failing now, but you want to give them as much opportunity as you can so that you get the best bang out of the buck. No, but I mean, honestly, it's not like they've been super successful so far. Barco had an amazing game. It's just one match. Let's all keep in mind that one match doesn't make you a Hall of Famer. Barco had an amazing match against New England Revolution. All credit to him. This is the one, not complaint, but the pooper I've got. It's one match. I want him to do it consistently. That's the one thing he's not been able to do, is to do stuff like this consistently. I'm not saying he has to score bangers every match. I'm just saying create, help develop stuff going forward, help be involved in the attack, help others get into dangerous positions, facilitate better. We all wanted him to take more shots. I think the first one was obvious he was going to shoot. The second one was less obvious because we haven't seen him take those opportunities in the past as often as I think we'd like. Normally he'll cut one way and maybe try to out dribble him or get by him that way and get closer to net before he actually decides to try to take a shot. In this case, he got around him real quick and took a chance. And man, did it look beautiful. Have you seen the goal? You haven't seen the goal, have you?
No, I don't.
Oh yeah, he's a banger. He did amazing. But consistency is key. We've asked the same thing from Andrew Carleton, and in the moments that he has started, absolutely he has been consistent. Miles Robinson has been the picture of consistency. So we just want to see more of that, specifically from Barco. How Pity comes into play with all this, we'll talk about next. Miles of South Radio Show on Atlanta Sports X, 12:30 a.m., 106.3 FM, always streaming on the Atlanta Sports X app.
I agree. Let's have them come in here. Why do we always have to travel? Yeah, we're always the visiting team. Maybe we need to be the home. We're back here.
Have fun.
A simulcast on the Sports X. Still on our way as far as earning stripes. Yeah, let's not get too big.
How did I turn into a critic? Remind me what I said. I already forgot. Classic Eric taking a comment about Joseph and turning into a criticism of Tito.
There is no timetable on being great.
This is Atlanta's alternative sports station. 12:30.
I don't hate Tito.
Hey, Atlanta.
I think I expected more.
Bedlam vodka. I'm making
I didn't say Tito wasn't hustling enough.
Join the rebellion with me. Try something new. Bedlam vodka is
That's like the one thing Tito does better than anybody else is hustle. It's like him and Yamil Assad.
Bedlam vodka has a taste and a drinkability that is over 170 years in the making. Bedlam is craft vodka. It's American made and gluten-free. Head to your local store and buy a bottle of Bedlam vodka. Bedlam vodka. Live rebelliously. Drink responsibly. Well, we did it. We made some incredible improvements to the InfinityOfGwinnett.com website. It's faster, easier to use.
So we're gonna have about like 5 minutes in this last segment.
We push the bandwidth limit of the
Wanted to hit.
It's all there at InfinityOfGwinnett.com. Real-time inventory on every new Infinity, like the Q50.
Well, shoot, what should I hit?
The QX80. Current finance and lease offer.
I'll talk about starting 11, what I think is gonna happen.
Lowest payment. You can even have your trader
Um,
or schedule a service appointment. All at InfinityOfGwinnett.com.
Game's at 4 o'clock, right?
Would we rather have you here, face to face, at Infinity of Gwinnett? Well, sure we would. I mean,
Pity's pouting.
we really prove what a great car buying experience.
I do wonder if he's happy to be
Some
here.
people just like to start things online, and we get it. So you can start your search right
I am a little worried about that.
InfinityOfGwinnett.com. Or take a test drive and let us help you find the right Infinity for you.
It's been rough.
Infinity of Gwinnett, Satellite Boulevard in Duluth. And don't forget, always online at InfinityOfGwinnett.com.
Express Oil Change and Tire Engineers is your home for all your automotive care needs. Their 10-minute oil change is the best in town, and you don't have to get out of your car. Express Oil Change.
Yeah,
and Tire Engineers is
the
also
tackles on Gressel, the other one was on Parkhurst, right? Yeah, they both were pretty bad.
Over 2/3 of our customers say
I don't know. I've just gotten to the point where I've not accepted. I just gotten to the point where I'm like, all right, well, I know these refs are going to miss stuff, and I'm of the belief that you see the same sort of stuff in the Premier League, in La Liga, in the Bundesliga. The problem is that MLS already has this reputation of its referees being bad. And in some cases, they are legitimately bad, but they have this reputation where across the board they're bad, that anything that is egregious is already has a massive magnifying microscope on it as it, just as an effect. Whereas in the Premier League, it probably wouldn't get us noticed as much because it happens less often. Whenever it happens in MLS, we're just like, oh, well, that's because our refs are bad. I guess that's there for a reason. But.
And they use cutting-edge technology, all custom designed to permanently repair your home's specific waterproofing needs. Trust the pros at AquaGuard to do the job right the first time with a warranty.
All right, so last segment, starting 11. I'll do some predictions against regarding the FC Dallas match.
There's a common question.
There's two people here. One person here that hasn't said anything. I wonder who that is.
Are termites really
I wish I could see who's listening
Here to
or
answer it
watching.
is Matt Breda with Breda Pest Management.
Well, termites really are active year-round, although their movement or foraging, it may slow down a little bit during the colder months. A termite colony will need to continue to eat and be.
Everybody go to the game on Saturday. I think Josh said 3-1 win for Atlanta United against FC Dallas.
Stop paying $300.
Mine's going to be a little less optimistic.
Termite protection. Get better protection.
I thought about doing that, A-Ray, but apparently that's cheating, so I'm just going to say that they're going to lose, and we'll see what happens.
Warranty, they're all used interchangeably in our industry. But what you need to have as a homeowner is termite repair coverage. That's the word you want to hear, repair. But if you're paying over $300
Oh, I'm the
per year
fifth
for
person.
your termite protection bait station, you're paying too much.
Schedule your appointment today at BredaPest.com. That's BREDA, BredaPest.com.
First time we got on
There are a few things
back
that
into
spark
this.
less conversation in the traffic.
How long is the segment here? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Have to binge watch other cars' bumpers for an hour. Can't say it enough. I hate Atlanta traffic.
Last chance to get your comments in.
Find out about
I'll pretty much shout anything out on the stream in this last segment here. It's gonna be quick.
Finance my car with ACU. I'll get a Peach Grass with $120 value, lower auto loan rate, and money, so I can breeze through the express lane. Heck yes! The promotion is available to anyone who is financing a new sedan, truck, or SUV, or anyone with a current auto loan who wants to make the switch to ACU. They're offering the chance to cut down on my daily commute with Peach Grass and potentially lower my auto loan rate. I can't think of a better scenario. To apply for this offer, back looking for like a minute and a half /auto loans.
Oh, that quick?
Peach Grass.
I mean, it's fine, but I went. I went way too long. It's okay.
Deserve some loudmouth.
Miles of the South Radio Show on Atlanta Sports X, 1230 AM, 106.3 FM, always streaming online in the Atlanta Sports X app, streaming on YouTube on the MOTS Podcast YouTube channel. You can follow me at Eric G. Quintana. You can follow the boys at Sam J. Franco and Josh Bagriansky at Josh B. 916. 914. I don't know. One or the other. Elliot Beaven on the yeah, there you go. Elliot Beaven, any word on Bello? And I've not heard anything. I do wonder what's going on if he hasn't been kind of mentioned or talked about when it came to possibly being starting 11, possibly being a replacement at left back moving forward, or someone that's going to be in regular rotation. I wonder if the match at Herediano had an impact on the brain in terms of him mentally. It's the only, because I mean, he's got the talent. He's proven that before. It's not like he doesn't know what he's doing in given situations. It's not that he's not lacking talent. So why he's not being mentioned as someone who could at least be in the 18. I don't know. Josh B914, that's it. Again, I'm Eric G. Quintana. Follow the podcast at MOTS Podcast. I think Tito plays Saturday. I think Pitti on the bench again. My hope is that Barco. I hope we have a similar setup to what we had after Remedi had to come out. Let's see it. And then you find a way to introduce Pitti back in the lineup. Tito might be the casualty there. Who knows? That'll do it for us. We will have a podcast next week as well as a radio show. I want to say podcast. I want to say it's going to be early next week. Hopefully a lot like what we did this week where we had it on Monday. You can find that on your podcatchers, Mouths of the South. Search it. Love it. Enjoy it. That'll do it for us. Until next time. See you later, Atlanta. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you later.
Sorry. Coming.